Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is Tuesday, which means this is the Blueprint Power Hour where we answer your questions, no matter how ridiculous they are. You can post them. If you're watching the show after it's live, which is at 1 o'clock Eastern, you can email your questions to onair@superhumanradio.net. If you're watching live, you just have to post them where you can post things on the Facebook or YouTube. And ask questions, and we'll work them into the show. We work every question into the show, no matter how long it takes. And, of course, we have to thank our title sponsor, Legendary Foods, makers of the Tasty Pasty, the Tasty Pasty. That was good. The Tasty Pastry was designed to take the place of a crappy Pop-Tart, which is loaded with sugar and lots of other horrible stuff, to be honest with you. Less than 1 gram of sugar, 20 grams of high quality protein, and 4 to 5 net carbs. I just got a box of them. I love the cinnamon and brown sugar by far. Strawberry is my second. Elisa is addicted to the chocolate cake. She puts them in the microwave for 10 seconds. These are the best tasting healthy snacks in the world today. I am not saying that. I'm saying it because it's the truth. If you haven't eaten one yet, you don't know. You can't believe it. You will swear you're eating cake. Really puffy, beautiful, delightful cake with the best fillings and iced sugar on top. And they taste so good. I mean, I'll eat 2 at a time without a problem. But really, your kids love them too. They will love them. If you give them to your kids, you'll find out that they'll want to eat them all in one day. And that tells you something, because kids don't eat things that don't taste good or decadent, let's say. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary. Use the code SHR10 to save 10% off, and you will love them. I guarantee it. And now, without further delay, let's get Rob's music on here.
Calling all Blueprint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the Blueprint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
Hey, Rob, how you doing, man?
I am doing great. My leg is 99% of the way back, and you can file that under the category of the wisdom of Carl Lenore.
How so? How so?
Well, you know what? My very first appearance, 10 plus years ago on SHR? Mm-hmm. I don't know how we got on the topic, but you strongly recommended that I buy and use an inversion table.
For anybody who squats or deadlifts heavy, you are compressing your spine greater than the average human is doing it. And if you don't do things to decompress it at the end of the day, and especially me, I ride a motorcycle. My lumbar spine is all jacked up. I get on that thing as soon as I pull in the garage.
Yeah. So, fortunately, I took your advice. I visited a local Play It Again Sports, I think it was, and I purchased an inversion board for like $99 or something like that.
I did exactly the same thing. Yeah.
And I can tell you, with all candor, it's been one of my top 3 equipment purchases for what it does and what it prevents. And I've learned a lot, over the years using it. But since using it a little more aggressively, when we last talked about this, my leg, not only is it, I would say 99% back, I was stunned last week. I trained legs for the first time. I went to do pistols, 1-legged squats. It's not my strongest exercise, but my previous best was 45 pounds, right? A 45-pound kettlebell, couple reps. And I had not trained my right leg for almost a month because it was injured. I only trained my left. So I get in there, 20 pounds, a couple of reps. Wow, that was easy. 30, 40. Now I'm like, whoa, I'm within 5 pounds of a PR. I grabbed a 50-pound kettlebell on my right leg and banged out two reps. which, okay, it's not a lot of reps, but that's a 5 pound and 1 rep PR. And so I have to, and I came back, I'm still dumbfounded by it. And the only explanation I have, in addition to inversion and training my left side, I think when this was last brought up, I mentioned there's a study that showed when one limb was immobilized, they say your right leg, if you trained your left, there was a crossover effect.
And in fact, the phenomenon is known in science as cross education.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's one thing.
Keep the injured leg from losing muscle mass by training the other leg.
It's one thing to read it. It's another thing to live it. And that's why I said, and this was before I knew this was going to happen. That's why I said, when I heard this, this is an experience worth having too.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And I've discovered something too. Many of you know that I've been suffering from a neurological disorder that was the same neurological disorder that my sister had, but she was misdiagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and the treatment for Parkinson's disease is really what killed her. The poor thing, she did everything. She did deep brain stimulation where they drilled a hole in an electrode in her brain. They harvested cells from her brain because they were going to do stem cell therapy on her. She died before the stem cells were ready. I think I've discovered what's plaguing me. And it's so stupid in my face, but I'll know after my blood work next week, for sure. But I think I actually wrote a blog. The most popular blog I've ever written was on energy drinks because of the excessive vitamin B6 they have in them.
Oh, the nerve damage.
Yeah. And it's reversible once you stop using, half a milligram a day of vitamin B6 day in and day out. But I think that this is all from B6, what I'm dealing with. And I don't know. My sister's dead. I can't ask her. She did real estate in the daytime. She taught the most aggressive spinning classes in the evening at Pure Fitness, I think it was called, in Tempe, Arizona. And for all I know, she could have been, and then went home, did laundry, didn't get to sleep till 1 o'clock in the morning, then got up at 6 in the morning, got the kids off to school, went back to work. For all I know, I can't have the conversation with her. I wonder if she was using energy drinks back then.
Yeah, it's an interesting question.
Yeah. But I really do believe that a lot of what I'm dealing with is B6 toxicity. And I'll tell you what really gave me the hint. My nephew, Tim, works for me now in sales. And he and I have been downing like energy drinks for the past few months, like madmen. Like the other day, I had to get ready for a show and I was exhausted. And I took 2 Bang energy drinks. I literally guzzled both of them down in less than 10 minutes. They were both gone. And I was sleepy right after the show. So I've talked about how, I've given up coffee. Coffee is not a problem anymore. I don't even think about coffee anymore. But I may have been implicating coffee erroneously because all the time I've drank coffee, I've been using energy drinks. I got rid of the coffee, but I continue to use the energy drinks. Well, I haven't had any caffeine since Friday. That sucks by itself. I really I'm falling asleep constantly. But the reality is that when I look at the symptoms of B6 toxicity, one of them is your muscles burn like lactate, like they burn like you just ran 100 miles. And my nephew Timmy said to me in the middle of the night, he wakes up because his quads are burning, like he just trained legs. And that's something I've been dealing with for the past couple of years now. Wow. And that's when I lined up the patent. I said, look, let me look at what he's doing. The only thing that we are doing pretty much the same is the whole energy drink thing. C4, all of them. They all have a lot of B6 in them unnecessarily. I really just start a campaign for supplement manufacturers. Take the fucking B6 out of all your supplements. We're getting it everywhere. You're getting B6 everywhere.
I always wondered why they dosed it so high. It's not like it's a rare vitamin. People get a lot of it just in normal diets.
Yeah, but remember, so people go, oh, but it's water soluble. Yeah, but if you're drinking more than you can piss out in a day, then it's accumulating. There's no magic in solubility. Oh, that's fat soluble. It accumulates. water soluble vitamins can accumulate too if you're not pissing them out enough.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'll know next week. I get my blood work done, and I'm going to look at my B6. And if my B6 levels are high, I know what it is.
It'd be great. Okay.
P5P. That's the that's the P5P. Yeah, it doesn't matter what you use. If you're taking too much B6, pyridoxine, if you're taking too much B6 every day, day in and day out, and like I said, I drink almost a gallon of water a day without thinking about it, but that doesn't get it all out because I'm taking in so much more than I can urinate out in a day.
Yep.
But yeah, this is something that people need to be aware of. More people need to be aware of this because there are people out there who have strange symptoms and they go to their doctor and they just can't put their finger on it. Gee, I don't know why. I got numbness in my fingers and my feet are getting numb. I don't understand what it is. And it could be as simple as their intake of B6. Now, I'm not saying it's guaranteed to, but it needs to be thought about by doctors because we are getting B6 in everything today. B6 in every food product is fortified with B6. Every energy drink, even a 5-hour energy shot has like a 0.5 milligram of B6 in it.
Yeah, it's off the charts.
Yeah, I mean it's just crazy. But anyway, okay. With that being said, people need to be aware of their B6. Sean Wasson, when we were talking about the tasty pastries, he said he's in the middle of a 3-day water fast, and damn, that looks good. Yes, they taste better than they look.
It looks good when you're full.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and start with these questions, and then we'll get to the live questions. We're going to start with this first one, which was emailed in. Wayne Enos, he says, I really like your advice on playing the long game a few weeks back. Makes total sense. My question has to do with the long game on supplements. Other than fish oil, what are the best preventative? Let me get the rest of his question up here. Preventatives. There are so many. Can you narrow it down a bit?
Yeah, well, without knowing someone's family history, let's say, or budget, it's tough to do justice to the answer. However, I think we can make some assumptions, and assumption number one I would make is that chronic inflammation is either the root cause of most disease, or it makes things worse. So, right, it's going to affect everyone to a certain extent. The other assumption I'll make is that your budget for these things is a lot less than it used to be, right?
Yeah.
In other words,
I just paid $5.19 for gas. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Right. So if supplements, if they don't go up another penny, there's a lot less money around today, right? To use them and benefit from them. So that being said, here's what I would recommend. I'm trying to narrow it down to just a few. Top of the list, ginger extract, 1 to 1.5 grams a day. You're looking for a product that contains minimum 5% gingerols. Ginger is likely the most cost-effective preventative there is, and it is still relatively inexpensive. Aspirin being the other cheapest, perhaps even cheaper. Now, if you want to save even more money, you can do like I do, which is to say you buy the bulk ginger powder and you cap it yourself. So that's a way to stretch your budget as well. Alternatively, I would tell you that in addition to, or even with ginger, you can use between 1 and 2 grams of curcumin a day, or a lesser amount of one of the high absorption formulas. There's BCM 95, there's curcumin, right, Mariva. I know UCLA at one point developed lipid nanoparticles. They had a product using lipid nanoparticles as an absorption enhancer. They had some pretty decent studies from what I saw from that. But bottom line is curcumin is a fantastic either standalone or adjunct as well. The other two I would tell you are magnesium, and that magnesium breakthrough product is the best that I've ever seen and used, and D3. That needs to be mixed in the mix as well. Why? Both of those, literally hundreds, right, of things that they do to prevent disease and even treat it. And never mind that, it's just optimal bodily function. You're not going to get there without healthy amounts of vitamin D and magnesium. Um, and so I would recommend, in the case of D, getting your levels tested and tweaked, depending upon how much you take and how much sunshine you get. Try to get to a level of between 50 and 80. Some people go even higher, but certainly 50, I think, is a threshold amount, especially in today's day and age and world, for its many effects, but also, primary effect on immune function. If you have the extra coin, I would then invest in vitamin K2, quercetin, zinc, good zinc, vitamin C, bromelain, N-acetylcysteine, and/or the R isomer of alpha lipoic acid. All of those have very strong anti-inflammatory action, but importantly, right, they also build a very strong immune system through various other pathways, which is obviously a big consideration for many. Many of those I just mentioned also work synergistically with each other. So, for example, bromelain and vitamin C will facilitate the absorption of quercetin, which on its own has some absorption issues, and it will help to recycle it, which keeps levels higher for longer. K2 is going to guard against calcification of the arteries, as does copper, which is possible if your vitamin D works a little too well, right? Because then there's going to be a lot of calcium floating around, and the bones can only store so much, and if you're not careful, it can do bad things to the inside of your arteries. Our alpha lipoic acid is there to help recycle vitamin C and E, and will likewise build levels of glutathione, like N-acetylcysteine, although NAC has other benefits. So, here's the bottom line. I think the combination of ginger and/or curcumin and magnesium and D, vitamin D3, would be most people's Fab 4 of preventatives, okay? Why? You're going to get the broadest spectrum of benefits and protection for the least amount of money. There is plenty of scientific evidence on each one, and we know most people will need supplementation of at least 2 because of widespread deficiencies and suboptimal levels, magnesium and D3. By some estimates, up to 80% of North Americans are deficient in magnesium. And if you're not getting your sunshine, D might be an issue as well. So those are my 4. There's a list that's a mile long, but I think from a cost to benefit perspective, those are your Fab 4.
So you said sun, and that was a good thing to say. Because the magic from sun isn't the vitamin D production, contrary to what everybody was telling you. The magic for sun is the activation of the melanocortin system. I was just looking for something. The association. So when they look at women with fibromyalgia who suffer from idiopathic pain all the time, it's nerve pain. If those women would go lay out in the sun once in a while, maybe a half hour a day for 4 or 5 days, their pain threshold changes. They have less pain. And that's not because of vitamin D. It's because of activation of the melanocortin system. Melanotin 2 does this too. Melanotin 2 completely shuts down chronic inflammation. Every cell has 4 melanocortin receptors. There are 4 different types of melanocortin hormone. And they're stimulated by sun, and they're stimulated by injecting or nasal spray melanocortin stimulating hormone, which is otherwise known as melanotin 2. So the best thing you can do for inflammation and pain is free.
Right.
But nobody wants to do it. Nobody, I don't want to go sit outside. Just go put your shorts on. If you're a woman, put a halter top on and sit in the sun every day. Start out with 20 minutes till your skin. If you're dark skinned like me, you could probably stay out there longer. If you're very fair skinned, if you're very, very high on the Fitzpatrick scale and you're very fair skinned and you burn easily, start out with 15 minutes a day and ease into 20. and then try to get to 30 minutes a day and try to do that consistently. Every day it's sunny. I would say do it 5 days in a row, but you may not be able to. You may do 3, and then it's a crappy day, and then another 2. Do it as often as you can. Watch what happens to your pain. It will start to subside, and it's free. You don't have to buy anything. It's friggin' free.
So for the past week, I've been doing just that. 15, 20 minutes, every day or every other day. I immediately notice a very strong feel-good effect as soon as I come back in, because I didn't sit out there and sweat until the cows come home. And I didn't burn, but you get that bolus dose of vitamin D and all the wonderful things that it does, and you can literally feel it. And the only other time I felt that was your transdermal vitamin D. I forget the name of it.
Primal D. Yeah.
Primal D. And you can go back and listen to those shows, and I'm very clear. There was a very strong feel-good effect from that product, and it is likely because we were getting vitamin D the way nature intended through the skin.
Right. A lot of the benefits purported to occur from vitamin D have been disproven. So you got to be careful with vitamin D, right? I mean, vitamin D is important. Don't get me wrong. Very important. And in fact, it stops the replication of retroviruses like COVID-19. Literally stops them. But studies have been done, for instance, on postmenopausal women and vitamin D, because it's supposed to make seasonal depressive disorder go away, and it didn't. Vitamin D is touted to have all these benefits, but when they do studies on them, first of all, we assume this because people who live closest to the equator don't have heart disease, they don't get plaque in their arteries, they don't get viruses, they don't get all these things, and we're like, oh, vitamin D, vitamin D, vitamin D. No, it's the melanocortin stimulating hormone. And we attribute, like libido is elevated from melanocortin stimulating hormone, but not from vitamin D.
Is there a way to test for that?
For what?
Stimulating the melanocortin receptors and so forth?
Well, I'm sure they are. I'm sure you can test the presence of melanocortin stimulating hormone shortly after you've been out in the sun. Yeah, for sure. But
if doctors are testing for D now, why not go to the next level and do that?
You don't even need to do that. Just get in the sun. Do you know that when tuberculosis hit this country, there were health hospitals opened up in California because people who had TB lived longer and had fewer symptoms when they stayed in the sun. These places took people in their hospital beds and pushed them out in the sun. And then within months, these people were out of their hospital beds. Do not underestimate the magic of the sun. We evolved under the sun. We are what we are today because of the sun's direct influence. Dr. Daniel Lieberman, the author of the book, The Story of the Human Body, came on my show and said, the first big change that turned us into what we are today, which was the ability to stand up and move bipedal as opposed to chimpanzees with hands, was because we were leveraging the sun. We were trying to keep the sun from burning us because we didn't sweat like other animals. So we had to stand up. The sun has had such a profound effect on who we are today. And then you have these stupid, fucking dermatologists who tell you to slather yourself with sunblock and don't go out in the sun. The sun doesn't cause skin cancer. Your diet does. The sun doesn't want to cause skin cancer. But if you're eating shitty foods and they're being trapped in your skin, and go back and listen to the show. We just reran it. When I was in Mexico, we just reran what really causes skin cancer. And I cite studies and everything with that. Look, the bottom line is get out in the sun. It's free, and it will change you into a much healthier person. It will. Let's see here. We have a comment here. 30 minutes a day for me plus 150 micrograms of MT2. That's 3 times a week. That's a pretty big dose. I can't do 150 micrograms. I get black. I don't know how fair you are, Sean, but I have to use a lot less than that. But there you go. That's the freebie that you can add to your supplement regimen. Let's go to some of these live questions now. Okay. Let's see. So Horn Frog, he's watching on YouTube, says, Rob, you might enjoy a current thread on Anabolic Minds titled, What is the best ecdysterone or testosterone supplement? There are already 519 replies.
Yeah, I think I've seen it. I may have even chimed in under my screen name over there, but at this point, it's starting to wear on me. I've seen the cycle over and over, but I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. Absolutely.
Joe Mazzarella says, Carl, can you tell me how much BPC 157 you should use or take at one time for minor muscle injuries? 300 micrograms to a half a milligram. That's it. Simple stuff. Taylor C is going to like a show that we have. I think it's next week. He says some hardcore keto guys make an argument against all plant compounds. They say the literature is built on epidemiological studies, and though they can assist in healing, going keto will prevent disease in the first place. I just don't read about centenarians being keto. Well, keto is relatively new, but don't think centenarians haven't been keto, because there are lots of low-carb lifestyle people out there. But what's more important to discuss is people who are on keto eat a lot of meat. And we're doing a show, I believe Elisa booked it for next week, that will once and for all dispel the myth that you need polyphenols and all these plant things if you're eating carnivore, because it's already in the flesh of the cow. And there has been a study done where they looked at the flesh of beef, and they have identified vitamin C, polyphenol, like everything the cow eats ends up in its flesh.
No surprise, though, right?
Yeah. So I don't know that we have to have these things if we're eating animals that are rich in them already. And that's not an argument I want to even be involved in. You know what? If you want to eat plant-based foods, do it. I do it. Yeah, I do it. Sean says he's whitey Irish dude.
Yeah.
And that's good. Yeah, you got to start out slow, maybe 10 minutes a day. How about that? Yeah. Okay, let's see what we got here. We have Cola Quench says, just to add to earlier conversations, I've gotten both B6 toxicity and zinc toxicity, and both those problems caused horrible muscle problems. Yeah. I think people don't realize that these things bioaccumulate in flesh. They do, especially B6. B6 is so sinister. I challenge you to look at the label of anything you eat today and not find B6 in it. Fortified with B6, fortified with B6, fortified with B6. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, I agree with you. And they cause neuropathy. They can cause rashes. They can cause muscle pain. They can cause symptoms that look very much like multiple sclerosis, dizziness, easily off balance, numbness in the hands, numbness in the feet. In the worst cases, the numbness goes up the legs. And because it's sensory driven, you lose proprioceptive reflexes. So while your legs may be strong, like you get on the leg press and you go, holy crap, I'm leg pressing 800 pounds, no problem. But walking around, I don't feel like I have good mobility. It's because it's on the sensory side of the nervous system that B6 toxicity causes problems. It's an interesting phenomenon. I'm willing to bet with all of us out there with energy drinks and supplements that we take and high doses of this and I bet there's a lot of people out there with B6 toxicity levels that don't even know it. Yeah, I was yeah, and this is the only way you can. If you eat a raw food, a real food diet, you'll never ever get overburdened by B6. He says, I was supplementing B6 because I read it inhibited AGE formation. Really? Yeah, exactly. Do you avoid eggs if you're concerned about B6? No, because real food sources of B6 aren't a problem. I don't avoid avocado, which is another great source of a lot of things, including B6. But when it's bound to the food, the body has a different way of handling it than when it's synthetic B6 powder in a drink. It's an interesting phenomenon. So there you go. All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break. We got lots more questions. We will get to everybody's questions and comments. Stick with us. We'll be right back with more the Blueprint Power Hour. Plant medicine has become all the rage for mental optimization. Now there's an ancient plant medicine rapidly growing in popularity that experts believe might just be the alcohol of the future. It's called True Kava. Kava is a natural food-grade elixir that has been used for over 3,000 years by South Pacific Islanders as safe, non-addictive alternative to drugs and alcohol. By naturally boosting the brain's main feel-good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, and GABA, Kava provides you with both increased relaxation and mental clarity at the same time. True Kava is a new form of stabilized full-spectrum traditional Kava that is third-party lab tested for quality and safety. Go to shrnetwork.biz/true Kava, and that's TRUKAVA, all one word, and use code SHR for 25% off today. Most people have heard of phytoestrogens, but did you know there are beneficial phytoandrogens? The top source of these is pine pollen. It even contains trace amounts of testosterone and DHEA. If you're looking for a 100% natural testosterone booster, this is worth trying. Lots of men love it, and it even works for women. Lost Empire Herbs offers the highest quality wild harvested, non-irradiated pine pollen backed by a 365-day money-back guarantee. It works for you, or you don't have to pay for it with nothing to send back. Go to shrnetwork.biz/lost empire. Use code SHR. Get 15% off your order today. If you'd like a shortcut to better sleep, more energy, and calmer, more stable moods, then you should make sure you're supplementing with magnesium daily. Let me tell you why. About 75% of people are magnesium deficient. This deficiency can lead to higher levels of anxiety, irritability, trouble sleeping, and low energy. It can even contribute to foot and leg cramps while you sleep. Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers is the single best magnesium supplement in the world. Simply take 2 capsules before you go to bed, and you'll be amazed by the improvements in your mood and energy levels and how much more rested you feel when you wake up. I take Magnesium Breakthrough every night, and I sleep better because I use it. Go to magbreakthrough.com/SHR and use the code SHR10 during checkout to save 10% off and get free shipping. Check it out.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
C60, also known as Buckminster fullerene, is the most powerful, most versatile antioxidant in the world. It's been shown in studies to double the lifespan of rodents. We all know the importance of taking antioxidants to slow aging, reduce inflammation, and improve mitochondrial function and energy production. But there are literally hundreds of antioxidants that would cost you thousands of dollars to take every day. I take one. I take C60 from C360 Health. Revive and Rejuvenate are 2 blends that harness the power of C60. Don't waste another minute. Go to shrnetwork.biz/revive and use the code SHR for 15% off and free shipping inside the United States today.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. Don't hate us because we feel good.
Hey, welcome back. We have a big audience today. Thank you so much for showing up. We have plenty of people. So Polo Dustino is saying hit the like button for the ALGO.
Algorithm.
Oh, is that what it is?
Algorithm,
yeah. Hit the like button. Come on, give me some likes. We don't have very many likes. Come on. How do you guys feel about IgG, IgE testing for food? The data is so mixed. I don't trust it. I mean, unless it proves what you already believe. Like, let's say every time you eat eggs, you break out in a rash. Or every time you drink whey protein, your sinuses just clog up. Then, if you do the IgG, IgE test, And it coincides with what you believe. It's like, oh yeah, you have a reaction from whey protein, then yeah. But I wouldn't take that test and just automatically start eliminating foods from my diet based on its suggestions, unless I see I have a problem with them. Does this food produce mucus? Do I have inflammation the next day after I eat? Like, I can tell you, sugar. So we went to the movies the other day to see Downton Abbey, the new movie. And I haven't been to the movie in so long. So what do? I get a box of Milk Duds loaded with sugar. I know it's loaded with sugar, but I eat the box of Milk Duds. The next day I wake up, my knees, my ankles, all my joints hurt. If you're eating sugar and you're living with pain, the first thing you need to do is stop eating fucking sugar. That's the first thing. And then if you do a blood test that says, yeah, sugar causes inflammation in your body, then it coincides. But we don't need these types of labs to tell us if we're paying attention.
It's more complex than one test result, and I'm glad you brought up whey protein because it's a perfect example. I took a blood test that determined the only thing, excuse me, that I was severely allergic to was whey protein. And in fact, my wife was the first one to point this out to me. I never made the connection. Sometimes I'd take it, and immediately my nose would get stuffed up. Here's the kicker. I'm allergic to cheap whey proteins because when I used Thrive, when I used Mass Pro Whey, I do not get stuffed up in the least. But on a cheap whey protein, I will get so stuffed up I can get no air whatsoever through my nose. And so it's not always as simple as, hey, these levels indicate you're allergic to this food. Well, maybe some types of that food and maybe certain amounts of that food, but it's not a definitive statement.
And now here's another thing. He continues on. Taylor C., who's watching on Facebook, says he definitely has sinus issues and brain fog and bloating and rash, but it's kind of always around. He doesn't eat much sugar, he says. IgG test shows sensitivity to whey, beef, eggs, almonds, avocados, everything I like, LOL. Well, first of all, to go back to the show we're doing in a week about everything the cow eats, you eat. That's also true of dairy and eggs. So let's say you're highly allergic to soy, but you don't eat any soy. But the cows, the dairy you drink, the beef you eat, the eggs you eat, they're vegetarian diets. They're all eating soy. You're eating soy. Okay? We when a mother's breastfeeding, she'll drink a beer because it does two things. It relaxes her so she can produce more milk, but the alcohol puts the baby to sleep. It passes right through. So any dairy, any beef, any eggs, you're eating what they eat. Almonds and avocados, I would try to make the link up. What are these animals eating? Maybe it's something they're spraying on the crops, that they're spraying on almonds. Avocados, they shouldn't spray because they're pretty much impervious to bugs. So what do you think, Rob?
Well, I think, I would echo a lot of your comments. It can be a very complex issue because, as you pointed out, it could be the underlying food itself. It could be something the animal's eating. It could be pesticides. It could be. The other thing I would ask you has to do with timing. Have you always had these side effects? And if not, when did they begin? Because three of them that he rattled off real fast have to do with, shall we say, that shot that they're giving people these days to stay healthy, right? That's a sign, and it could be related to that. So, hey, could be a lot of things. It's not a cut and dry, simple, I'm allergic to this.
And you may be allergic to these things. He says he only does pastured and grass-fed, no conventional cow stuff, away from grass-fed cows. Have you tried to eliminate all these things? Just eat now. Okay, so eggs are one thing. What about chicken? Can you eat chicken?
Yeah.
No, that can you do it? Been years since he started. It's been around for a long time. I would actually try an elimination diet. I would try
Yeah.
a strong, like a carnivore diet, but just eat salmon, or just eat salmon and chicken. Literally limit yourself to those two foods for like 2 weeks and see if you feel better. If you don't, then maybe you're not really allergic to those other things.
Right.
That's what I would do personally. I love elimination diets. Okay, so let's see. The next question came from Michael Essman. He says, I'm a big fan of the show and your supplements and have a question about the new Tranquilligen. I really like the old one and it worked great for me. So why did you change it?
Yeah, fair question. And there were a number of reasons behind Tranquilligen's new formula. So let me recap what's changed, and then I'll tell you why. The old formula was curcumin, rhodiola, ashwagandha, 5-HTP, and astaxanthin. The new formula is red velvet bean extract, peak L-dopa, KSM 66 branded ashwagandha, a very strong 90% extract of hanakaiol. This is Japanese. This is the best material you can get your hand on.
Hanokiol?
Yeah, I don't know how other people.
Yeah, so hanokiol is from magnolia, and
Right.
it reduces anxiety dramatically.
Yeah, there you will be shocked, I think, as I was when I saw the studies out there on it. I was not aware it had that kind of scientific backing. So so there's that. With the rhodiola is still in there, and I'll get into that in a second. Gamma GH branded GABA, and I think theanine. So here's why we made the switch. First, we wanted a product to work more in line with its namesake. And so the fact is, the old formula had a very strong rhodiola in it, and a lot of it, which made some people.
Yeah, that could energize some people.
Yeah, I mean, it makes some people edgy instead of relaxing them. Not everyone, but enough people where it was not good. We had customers using a product designed to relax and rejuvenate them, and they couldn't fall asleep because of it. So obviously problematic. And the old formula as well also had a very strong slant towards antioxidant function, primarily the very high amounts of curcumin, that was the first ingredient, and astaxanthin. There was 15 milligrams in there, whereas most products are 5 to 10. The ashwagandha and the rhodiola also have antioxidant function, although to a slightly lesser extent. And while antioxidants are great, it was a bit too much, I thought, at the expense of the original goals that I had for the product. So in the new formula, what we did was we added more quote unquote feel good type of ingredients. And we thought that was warranted, along with items that just contributed overall to much greater mental and physical rejuvenation. And so those changes included something that elevates dopamine. There's your red velvet, attenuates the effects of stress. There's your ashwagandha and a stronger extract of it, as well as hanokiol. And a couple other things. And so after much thought and much batch testing, we retained the rhodiola. We originally were going to eliminate it. However, we have always believed in its adaptogenic properties. It is one of, if not, the best adaptogen out there for general stress and anxiety. To mitigate any of the speediness or insomnia, though, in sensitive individuals, we just dialed it back. Okay, that's just the solution we got to. So in the end, we accomplished all of the objectives that I originally set out to, while still preserving a pretty robust antioxidant function from the other ingredients. This much is also true. I thought most people, most people are already using curcumin and astaxanthin, okay, or at least many people, certainly many who listen to this show and are educated on the benefits. So they're already using those as standalones. Or if they weren't and they desired to, right, it's easy enough to find them. I think you can find both at, Walmart if you had to. Although that's not where I'd be doing my supplement shopping. Best of all, we were able to do a much larger production run of the new formula, which allowed us to pass those savings on to the customer. And so now you get 90 caps of the new formula versus 60 of the old. And the serving size is still the same for the same price, exact same price. And so I tell most people 2 to 4 caps a day. You do that Monday through Friday, take weekends off. Even at a max dose of 4 a day, that's well over a month's worth for the same price as before. 3 a day, which is probably most people's sweet spot. At that rate, a bottle is going to last you a full 6 weeks, which, in my opinion, it's an absolute bargain for the stuff that you're getting and the quality of that stuff. And then finally, I'll tell you this: I wanted this product for somewhat selfish reasons, meaning I wanted something to use on off days from Kratom. And so, if you're using Kratom 2 to 3 days a week, or on an as-needed basis, I wanted to have something that was going to help me feel better and address the stress issues that I have and the physical stress issues that I have, physical and mental, the other 5 days of the week. So that was, frankly, a big factor in its development. And so I appreciate your question. I'm really happy with how the new formula works and came at, the end result. And especially at its lower price point, let's say, it should make it much easier for more people to try it. And that's why we changed.
And are you getting feedback from people that are using it now?
Yeah, it's being very well received. People have said things like, "This is great. I feel like I recover much faster. I'm in a much better mood." And bear in mind, it's only been out there for about 2 weeks now. We sold out the entire first batch. The second batch is more than halfway sold. And so we'll probably be out of stock again soon. I don't know when the next batch is on the way. I can ask John and see what the timing is on that. But it has sold really, really well, and we've got some great feedback, and I'm very happy. I think it's a big improvement.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have a question from Bernard Simmons. I guess that's pronounced, or Simon Simmons, 2 M's. And then, of course, we have questions from the audience that we'll get to as well. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of the Blueprint Power Hour. I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is MyPillow. I've been sleeping with MyPillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have MyPillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/mypillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 800-889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High quality, pasture raised, great tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose to tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use the code superhuman to save 10% off your entire first order. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase. delicious of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. Are you 35 or older? Every year after puberty, your growth hormone decreases sometimes by 50% by the age of 35, and it only keeps going down from there. This affects everything from making it harder to recover from workouts, sleep, and a general loss of a sense of well-being. It also affects your ability to get and stay lean. BioPro Plus is the first of its kind, 100% non-synthetic alternative to prescription synthetic growth hormone treatments. All the benefits without any of the needles or side effects and 100% safe. Previously only available through doctors, you can go to shrnetwork.biz/biopro, that's BIOPRO, and use code SHR30 for $30 off today.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low carb.
This is the Superhuman Channel, doing reps with the weight of the world.
Hey, welcome back. You know, the White Oak Pastures ad just ran, and it reminded me that White Oak makes a steak ground beef. So it's made specifically from the steak cuts. And I had a pound of it yesterday for dinner. And it was friggin' amazing. It really was. You know, I actually think it's better to cook it in a frying pan than it is to cook it on the grill. I cooked it on the grill because, you know, when you cook it in a frying pan, it gets that characteristic crunchy, like you know, when you cook a steak burger, it gets where the steak burger is the thinnest. It gets that kind of crunchy burn like that like when you're cooking a steak. But it's fantastic. And I don't think it was much more expensive. I don't think it was much more expensive at all than just their normal 80-20 ground beef. If you haven't tried White Oak Pastures yet, you're really missing out. It's not just the best beef you can buy, but it's the best beef you can buy for the planet, because everything that they do is old school. They have revived the old way of rotating crops, rotating pastures. If you go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use the code superhuman, you'll save 15% off. But more importantly, you'll actually be buying beef that's good for the planet. Think about that for a second. That's good for the planet.
And for you.
Yeah, and for you. There you go. So let's see. We have this one question to get through, and then we will go to the live listeners and get their questions done. So this one comes from Bernard Simmons. He says, are you a fan of the ketogenic diet? I've been on one for years, and while it keeps my weight down, I'm growing tired of it. Is it really the best diet for people who train with weights? Who even said it was?
Well, I think to a certain extent that's being influenced by its popularity today, right? I mean, the ketogenic diet never really goes out of fashion, and it ebbs and it flows. But certainly today, it's a lot easier to eat keto, and they're making it easier, not only in the supermarket, but in the restaurants. So that's probably part of it. The short answer, though, to your question is no. I don't feel a straight ketogenic diet is anywhere near the best diet for people who participate in resistance.
And you know what? Just look at pro bodybuilders. If the ketogenic diet was the best diet for building muscle, they'd all be eating that way, but yet they don't. They're still eating their rice and chicken. They're still eating their sweet potatoes and beef. No, it's not the best. And you know, when we talk about diet, there are two variables that if you go to someone and ask them questions about diet, and they don't ask these two questions back to you, don't even listen to what they have to say after that. Number one, what are your goals? If your goals are to put on the most muscle versus get as lean as possible, those are very different diets. And number two, how do you eat now? What do you love to eat now? Because if they give you a diet of foods you just don't like to eat, you're not going to stick to it. That's not a good diet for you.
Yeah, great point. Great point. When I think about it, I just try to think about this logically, right? For starters, muscle is what, 70% water?
Mhm.
And so remember, the suffix is hydrate. When you cut the carbs out, you lose a lot of water. In fact, almost 3 grams of water for every gram of stored glycogen. And so for many people, it's a profound effect, as in not a good way, but you wind up with smaller, flatter, and weaker muscles. Yeah, your waistline might go down, but look, if you're hemorrhaging muscle tissue along the way, it's not really worth it, in my opinion. Now, much depends on how many carbohydrates are cut. There's a world of difference between people who try to keep it to 100 grams a day and people who strive for, under 30 or zero or whatever. Provided your training is on point, I am convinced that for most people that are looking to lose fat, keeping carbs to 100 grams a day or under is going to give you 90% of the fat loss that
Which
you're.
keep in mind that the original keto diet, as described by Dr. Mauro Di Pasquale, but he called it the anabolic diet because it was cyclical. You ate keto 5 days and 2 days you ate carbs. Was under 60 grams of carbs, not the extreme 80 and the real keto diet, as described by nutritionists as a therapy, is 80% fat.
Yeah, that's
Low
staggering.
protein. It's low protein. It's no carbohydrates, low protein, high fat. So the problem we have right now is the word has been bastardized. It has no meaning anymore. The real keto diet, the one that's approved by the FDA to treat seizures, is 80% fat. What bodybuilder, and I know Taylor sent me some pictures of somebody who's like, I had Tony Friedman on this show 4 years ago. He's a straight up keto bodybuilder. But then once we started talking about his diet, he's not eating 80% fat and 10%, 15% protein and 5% carbs, which is the real keto diet. He's eating an ultra high protein, ultra low carb diet. Very different. That's not keto. Now, I will say this. Any diet that produces ketones is a keto diet. So even a vegan diet can be keto. So we have to stop occupying our time in these murky waters of confusion. This is why I say we have to be specific. What are your goals? If your goals are to build muscle and you're not eating at least a gram of protein per pound of body weight, regardless of whether you're in your ketosis or not, you're not going to build muscle. Nobody's building muscle at 80% of fat a day diets. I don't care who you are. Don't even fucking tell me you are. Okay. But with that being said, keto means so many things today. And is it the best diet for you? That depends on you. We have to stop with this one size fits all. Even Dr. Sean Baker, guy is brilliant. He is changing the landscape about nutrition today. But he's very cautious to tell people the carnivore diet isn't for everybody. It may not even be for you. But if you have certain objectives, the carnivore diet is a great elimination diet. Do you have to live on it for the rest of your life? He says, no, of course not. You can start integrating foods in and testing the waters and see what was it that was causing your problem before.
Yeah. So I think it's fair to say very, very low carbohydrate, strict ketogenic diets, whatever you want to call them. A lot of downsides, too many for people who lift weights. Cycling ketogenic diets, as you pointed out, like the anabolic diet, however, that's an entirely different animal. And so that might entail very low or lower carb intake Monday through Friday, and then you got a big carb up on weekends. And certainly Dr. Di Pasquale has made a very convincing case for eating in that fashion, I think, for a lot of people. Not everyone, but a lot of people. And why? Because it dispatches with many of the negatives of a straight low carb diet, and it maximizes the positives. It's important too to acknowledge, there are many different variations. For example, Vince Gironda, he was espousing one high carb meal every fourth day, and he had a lot of success with it. But again, he was Mr. Ripped, and he was doing the bodybuilding thing. That's not going to suit a power lifter. So I would tell you, if you've invested in a low carb ketogenic eating approach, I would encourage you very much to experiment with some form of cycling, where you're periodically refeeding carbs. And the goal should be to learn how many carbs are too many, how often, how long you can refeed those carbs, and of course, which carbs are best for that purpose. So as an example, you're going to find out real fast. I'm sure this won't be a surprise to anyone. Carbs from candy corn will show on you a lot differently than carbs from fibrous vegetables,
Right.
and things of that sort. And so, to be totally honest, you can find studies showing all kinds of diets work to quote unquote lose weight. Low carb diets, high carb, low calorie diets, super high protein diets, and on and on and on. The common denominator, when I look at it, the common denominator seems to be this: keeping blood sugar and thus insulin levels low and or
Stable.
steady.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, outside of maybe the post-workout window of opportunity, that's what you need to do. How you get there is, I guess, a different matter, or your business, or whatever's best for you. But that should be the goal: keeping insulin low and or steady.
And you just said something that's important to repeat. What is best for you? No one looks at diets this way. Everybody's looking for you to tell them what diet is going to work best for them. Sorry. No one can tell you what diet is going to work best for you except you. People are so fucking lazy today that nobody wants to experiment. Just tell me what to eat. Just tell me what to eat. Well, Boyd's the BC, who's watching on Facebook, says, after doing keto for 3 months over 2 years ago, I found it impossible to get my cholesterol levels down to where they were pre-keto. Now, think about this. Cholesterol levels are important to Boydster. Maybe they're not important to you. Maybe all you care about is how fast can I lose body fat? I don't give a damn what I do to my body. But everybody's goals are different. This is why you must state your goals. You must state your goals so that people understand you are eating this way because of this. These are my goals. But then you have to take that and you have to modify it based on you, because you may find out that when you eat a certain food, it doesn't do well for you that somebody else does. You can't just keep pounding it down. You don't just follow blindly someone's diet if it's not where. I remember when Jimmy Moore was popular, he had a Facebook group that was all about keto. And he would have women on there going, I've been doing keto for a year and a half now, and I can't lose any body fat. I'm losing my hair. I feel horrible. I can't sleep. And they would say, well, you're not strict enough. No, maybe keto doesn't work for that person. Ever think of that? This is the stupidity that is nutritional advice today. The idea that what I do that works for me absolutely should work for you is ignorance. And anybody who promotes that, run the fuck away from them. They don't know what they're talking about. You need to experiment. You need to experiment. You need to experiment. You need to take the time to understand what foods work for you and what don't. If you don't have the time to do that, then you're going to be riding a roller coaster for the next 30 years of this diet and that diet, and it didn't work, then that one didn't work, this one doesn't work. You're never going to unlock the code for you.
Yeah, and the other thing I would tell you is stay away from absolutes, and because as an example, if I just established the fact that a steady or low insulin environment is conducive to weight loss or fat loss, you also need to know some insulin is necessary and certainly very useful in building muscle, right? And so therein lies the rub. One tip I will give you is this: I would highly recommend trying various amino acids in isolation and also in combination to push amino acids into muscle cells during and after training. And so that is an alternative, for example, to consuming any of the many different carb sources for that purpose. And whether or not which one suits you better, you won't know till that trial and error occurs. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think Dr. D has discussed this on SHR, and he may even have had a whole episode devoted to it.
He talked about the fact that insulin is what closes the anabolic window. Yeah. It's not 1 hour. Back in the day when we first started playing this game, Rob, you got to have that high dextrose, high whey protein, a little bit of alpha lipoic acid, exactly right after you work out, because there's a 1 hour window. That's complete bullshit. But that was designed to sell whey protein and dextrose and post workout drinks.
Right.
So Dr. DePasquale came on this show and he said, the longer you allow insulin to remain low, the longer the anabolic window is. Over the course of 24 hours, your body will replenish all the glycogen it needs to fill those muscles up. You don't have to drink a high sugar drink immediately after. In fact, you're better off not. And Boyd's BC says, I've gone back to balanced protein carb diets. Now, these are the diets that people like Lane Norton espouse. Lane is an animal. Dr. Brad Schoenfeld, these guys are like all about balanced diets, but high protein, very, very high protein. He says, but Boyd goes on and says, it's easier for me to manage energy and water weight. I simply adjust the carbs and salt levels. This is a guy paying attention to his body. He's never going to fall into the trap of wasting years on a shitty diet that doesn't work for him. Because as soon as it doesn't work, he goes, I'll give it 3 months. Nah, this isn't working. Let me try going back to my old way. And he points out, we put a lot of weight on studies that have, 50, 100, 150 people in them. Yeah. But he says, I strongly believe in the N equals 1 when it comes to food. In other words, what works for him is more important than some study telling him what should work for him.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I would tell you, if you want to become as well-versed as possible in the subject of using amino acids to facilitate the results of a cycling ketogenic diet, I would listen, number one, to every SHR episode that Dr. DePasquale has appeared on. And I would also make sure to get and read his book, Amino Acids and Proteins for the Athlete, The Anabolic Edge. I looked, it's still out there on Amazon, and it's well worth the asking price. Okay. There's even a Kindle edition that I saw, which is something I think is pretty new. I hadn't seen it out there before. If it was out there, I missed it. But that's the long and short of it. It's not the optimal diet. You need to experiment, and you need to read and get educated. And the more that you do, the better your results. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
All right, we're going to take our last commercial break. When we come back, we have the blueprint tip of the day. If you have comments and questions, please get them in before getting towards the end of the show, because a lot of times I end the show and people are still posting questions and comments. We'll be right back with more of the Blueprint Power Hour. Stay tuned. If you've listened to Superhuman Radio for any length of time, you know I'm a big proponent of peptides. One of my favorites is GHKCU, the blue copper peptide. It has the ability to repair and regenerate more youthful expressions of skin cells, reversing the signs of aging. Restore Cell's Stem Cell Awakening Serum, along with their other products, contain potent formulations of blue copper peptide and only the highest quality organic ingredients. Superhuman Radio listeners can now save 25% site-wide. Buy their complete set and receive a free exfoliating cleanser. Go to shrnetwork.biz/blue and use the code SHR25. That's SHR25. Remodel your skin today. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to SHRNetwork.biz SHRnetwork.biz/white oak and use the code superhuman to save 10% off your entire first order. Most people have heard of phytoestrogens, but did you know there are beneficial phytoandrogens? The top source of these is pine pollen. It even contains trace amounts of testosterone and DHEA. If you're looking for a 100% natural testosterone booster, this is worth trying. Lots of men love it, and it even works for women. Lost Empire Herbs offers the highest quality wild harvested non-irradiated pine pollen backed by a 365-day money-back guarantee. It works for you, or you don't have to pay for it with nothing to send back. Go to shrnetwork.biz/lost empire. Use code SHR. Get 15% off your order today.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Plant medicine has become all the rage for mental optimization. Now there's an ancient plant medicine rapidly growing in popularity that experts believe might just be the alcohol of the future. It's called True Kava. Kava is a natural food-grade elixir that has been used for over 3,000 years by South Pacific Islanders as safe, non-addictive alternative to drugs and alcohol. By naturally boosting the brain's main feel-good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, and GABA, Kava provides you with both increased relaxation and mental clarity at the same time. True Kava is a new form of stabilized full-spectrum traditional kava that is third-party lab tested for quality and safety. Go to shrnetwork.biz/true kava, and that's TRUKAVA, all one word, and use code SHR for 25% off today. C60, also known as Buckminster fullerene, is the most powerful, most versatile antioxidant in the world. It's been shown in studies to double the lifespan of rodents. We all know the importance of taking antioxidants to slow aging, reduce inflammation, and improve mitochondrial function and energy production. But there are literally hundreds of antioxidants that would cost you thousands of dollars to take every day. I take one. I take C60 from C360 Health. Revive and Rejuvenate are two blends that harness the power of C60. Don't waste another minute. Go to shrnetwork.biz/revive and use the code SHR for 15% off and free shipping inside the United States today.
This is the Superhuman Channel. Evolution just got kicked up a notch.
Welcome back to the Blueprint Power Hour. So, Rob, what is the Blueprint tip of the day? And I see we have some questions. We'll get to them, I promise.
Yeah, so the tip of the day is the truth about the healthcare system in America today.
Mm-hmm.
So prior to the age of 40, I rarely, if ever, went to the doctor. Now, yes, I did go, I saw dentists and a few chiropractors, but I honestly never found a need to visit a primary care or any other healthcare practitioner. I did see the team doctor once in college for a baseball physical, and that was mandatory. But outside of that one visit, I never interacted really with doctors, hospitals, the whole 9 yards. And I certainly never experienced anything like a hospital emergency room or an ICU. That all ended very abruptly at age 41 when I quite literally had a life-threatening case of rhabdomyolysis, which was, yes, self-inflicted, but at the time I didn't even know what rhabdo was. I just wanted to train hard. So it was then that I got to see these people in action and related entities like testing labs and pharmacists and insurance companies, even though I had worked for one. So here's what I learned. We really don't have a healthcare system in this country. We have a sick care system. And so while these people are the best in the world at acute medical care, they're the absolute worst in the world at everything else, especially prevention. So if God forbid you lose a limb, right, in some auto accident, don't go looking to homeopathic medicines to save you, right? Go to the ER. That's what they do. They're the best at it. I have to tell you, though, that even given all of their strengths, it is an absolute fustercluck on the inside, okay? Meaning, even when your life is in danger, grave danger, nobody, especially the doctors, it seemed to me, has any time for you. After almost a month in the hospital, I was dumbfounded when I finally got to go home because nobody ever told me what happened to me, or, just as importantly, how do I prevent that in the future? So it literally went like this. Here's your discharge paperwork, Mr. Regish, and the bill. There'll be more coming in the mail. Literally. Good luck. Good luck with everything. Since then, I've been to the doctor, many doctors, many times, um, for something either related to myself or my wife. And so at one point, my PCP was so alarmed by my quote unquote high creatine kinase numbers and creatinine levels, he was sending me to a kidney specialist, more than one. Nobody could figure out why my CK was so high, or why my creatinine was constantly elevated. It took me researching the fact that the higher CK levels that I was experiencing, it's totally normal for athletes who weight train, and that my creatinine, that was elevated not due to kidney damage like they were trying to tell me. It was a prescription drug that the guy had given me at the time. I think it was lisinopril. And I mean, literally, I figured all of this out. And then I brought the studies into the respective doctors. I said, look, here's what I think's going on. Had I not done that, I would probably still be seeing more specialists, and kept going and paying for blood work and taking needless prescription medicine that was, in fact, the root cause of that kidney issue. Likewise, my wife's team of 5 doctors, when she went in once, when her blood sugar or her blood pressure rather skyrocketed, they couldn't figure out, after all kinds of testing, what was spiking that blood pressure. They did EKGs, troponin, CAT scans, X-rays, comprehensive blood work, comprehensive neurological exam, you name it, they did it. And at the end of all that, in about 12 hours there, they threw their hands up and they said, well, we have no idea. Everything looks good. It took me about 45 minutes of asking her questions and listening to her answers, and maybe another 15 on PubMed to figure it out. She had abruptly discontinued one of her meds a week prior. The response to this, that's a pretty good guess. We think your husband's right. They discharged her a few hours later. I'm not telling you that to brag. I am telling you for the following reasons. Number one, understand that if you too need to see a doctor, visit an ER, a lot of how things ultimately turn out is going to fall on you, right? How soon or even if your situation resolves depends on the fact that you are your own best advocate. You need to be your own best advocate. You will likely need to do some reading and research and thinking critically, as to your condition and or its resolution. That's a big one. Number two, doctors are busy people, and right, wrong, or indifferent, most of them are too busy to put 100% of their abilities and knowledge to work finding out what's wrong with you. Never mind, right, the fix. Now, realistically, how could they? Their patient load is what, a dozen, 2 dozen people a day that they've got to see. It's impossible. There just aren't enough of them, and all the education in the world during medical school can't fix that. Just make sure before you go in, it is a freaking free for all. Okay, some places are better than others, but from what I've seen, it's an absolute free for all, and it ain't getting any better. Which means you can expect, more of the same if you happen to, these things are going to fall on you and us in the future. All of which brings me to the best solution to that dilemma, which is this: prevention. Do everything you can to live a healthy lifestyle, train regularly, maintain a good diet, maintain an appropriate weight, use preventative nutrients and supplements that I discussed earlier. Make sleep a priority, because once you're sucked into the machine, it is really tough to get out of it. So here's how it goes. Your PC is going to get his cut, right? His office visit and whatever else he does and tests he runs. If he writes you a prescription, the pharmacy is going to make sure that they get theirs. If you need to keep taking that medication, the doctor won't keep writing the script unless he gets to see you on a regular basis, more money. If he can't figure it out, he's going to refer you to a specialist who in turn is going to want their cut. The ambulance ride, if you need to take one, that ain't free either. It's about a $2,000 bill around here, right, for the one-way trip without insurance. Anything more than a few hours in the hospital for most people is going to be an astronomical bill. And if you require regular blood work, right, you can plan on paying LabCorp or Quest or whoever else is out there doing that shtick now. They're going to get their fee too. It all adds up, right? And it can and does bankrupt many Americans. So in order to avoid that entire nightmare, put everything you have into prevention. And while you're at it, start to read a little bit. Get familiar with PubMed and some other resources to research various medical conditions and treatments. You know, Google's a wonderful tool, but just like training and diet and supplements, there's a whole bunch of crap information out there. You need to know who the real deal sources are, because when you go to the doctor and say, I think it's this, can we try this? He's not he's not just going to say, oh yeah, sure. He's going to want to see studies, Journal of the American Medical Association, New England Journal of Medicine. Not that those aren't bought and paid for, you know, more and more, but he's going to at least need something to base it on. So at least make the effort to get familiar with it. Do your best to discern a good study versus a bad one, because look, there's a lot of bad science out there today. Okay, a lot, and it's paid for by big pharma, and it's all rather maddening. But the truth is this: you don't really have another choice. When it comes to your health, you must be your best advocate. That's how it is in healthcare today in the United States. And I think as a society, we just continue to get sicker and sicker, because I don't know about you, but when I was growing up 20, 30 years ago, I don't remember urgent cares.
No, we didn't have any of that.
Right? I mean, I don't remember.
And if the doctor was closed, you went to the emergency room. You know, people didn't depend on doctors nearly as much unless it was like really critical, like you were going to die.
Yeah, there was nothing in between. There was your doctor's office and the ER. There wasn't this, you know, urgent care and this clinic and this specialty and that specialty. So just taking a look at that should tell you everything that you need to know.
You know, hell, they have the little clinic at the grocery stores now. And these people can't do anything. They take your temperature, check your blood pressure, but then they send you to the hospital. So they're just looking at, hey, well, we can make a couple bucks, you know, we'll make a couple bucks.
I was going to say, now they're going to get their fee. Look, it's everywhere you look. You get sucked into that machine, you can bank on a minimum of half a dozen entities putting their hands in your pocket for more money.
Yes, true.
That's the reality.
Let's see here. So we have a couple comments that we have to work in here. Hold on a second. The first one is from Boydster, BC. He says, you had a show some years ago where you discussed the effects of genetically modified foods because of the glyphosate. In fact, by the way, Bayer, that owns Monsanto now, is asking Joe Biden to intervene because the courts have found them culpable because of using glyphosate in some cancer cases. So they're asking the president of the United States, hey, we're guilty. Save us. Save us. Like, how, if Joe Biden intervenes, well, look, Joe Biden, I'm sorry. I'm going to piss people off, but this guy isn't the president. He can't even, he doesn't even know how to tie his own shoes. But if the government gets involved and sets this aside so that Monsanto/Bayer aren't punished for covering up the research that Dr. Stephanie Seneff came on this show 8-9 years ago and talked about because of the FOIA Act, the Freedom of Information. They got all the email between the CDC, the FDA, and Monsanto that showed that they stopped the research just short of when the cancer started showing up, which means the cancer started showing up, but they said they didn't continue the research past that point, which was a lie. It says it in the emails that it was a lie. So
That's what I mean by bad bought and paid for studies.
So if our government gets involved and throws the public under the bus, well, you know what? We need a new government. We need a whole new government, top down, bottom up, whatever you want to do. It's got to change. But he's talking about that show. He says he's been gluten intolerant for 20 years, just returned from a week holiday in Holland. I just had the same experience in Mexico. Not once did I experience any side effects or inflammation from eating wheat products while in Holland. I then found out that Holland banned GMO crop production. Why? Because it's greed. Because these companies are paying off our government to let these companies kill us. That's it. That's what it is. I had
That's-
a meeting. Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
That is the honest, plain talk truth about what's going on. As much as it blows people's minds, that's what's happening.
Look, I had a meme that I put out probably 12 years ago, and I said, industry and government is like a conjoined twins that share a heart. In order for them to be separated, one of them has to die, and neither one of them is willing to die.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the incestuous relationship between. I went to Mexico. I ate corn. They have no glyphosate in Mexico. They outlawed it years ago. I ate bread. I ate all sorts of stuff that had I eaten it here, I would have been bloated. I would have felt horrible. I would have been achy the next day and brain fog. Didn't have it. Didn't have it at all in Mexico. They don't have any glyphosate there.
Yeah, it's really telling.
Hornflog says, absolutely, you have to be in charge of your own health. Doctors are not God. My deceased parents never questioned, or mine, what their doctors told them. Not me. Do your own research. Get a second opinion. Get a third opinion. Be your own opinion. Do your own research. And then tell the doctors, fuck off. You don't want it. Aiden Ray says, blueprint tip, 100%, coach. The last 2 years have sadly shown it's now even worse than that. Critical thought is out. Following orders, corrupt guidelines is in. At least 70% of the medical professionals are no longer worth their professional licenses, indoctrinated and professionals. Yeah, I agree.
And to be fair, though, a lot of them have been put in a position between a rock and a hard place, right? You either toe the line on the current treatment protocol for you know what that's going around, or you lose your license. So what's it going to be? 8 years of medical school down the drain and no paycheck, or you're going to, follow their orders. That's a tough spot to be in, but they put the American public in that very same spot when they said, hey, if you don't get vaxxed, you lose your job.
Paulo Destino makes a very, very important point here. Health is something that many people think just happens to them. Really, think about it. They just think, oh, yeah, no, I don't have to do anything to be healthy. It's just going to happen because I believe in myself. Sean Watson says, amen, brother, to your blueprint tip of the day. And then Aiden Ray says, didn't Bayer produce Zyklon B? Just saying it may not be best to trust these guys. Of course not. Of course not. Bayer was part of IG Farben. I, the letter I, G, the letter G, Farben, Farbin. I don't want to go into it right now, but after the show, Google IG Farben. Find out who they were, because that's who Bayer was part of IG Farben. For those of you who don't know, the quick answer, IG Farben was the government contractor to Adolf Hitler in Nazi Germany. They built the ovens, they built the tanks. They were it. They were who's the company that Dick Cheney used to be president of?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. They rebuilt Iraq and other countries. They are our IG Farben. That's who IG Farben was. And Bayer was a company within IG Farben that when the Nazis got busted, somehow Bayer survived and stayed around, and now they're still doing business.
But that's who Bayer is. Yeah. None of these companies give a shit about you and me.
Of course not.
They you know how they look at us? They look at us like we're varmints. You know, you got to kill a couple. It's just what happens. You know, it's just the process. That's all it is. Don't take it too seriously. And our government feels that way about us too. Don't fool yourself.
Yeah, I mean, and you can see it from afar, right? When somebody retires from one of these CEOs retires from one of these big pharma places, guess where they go to work?
Yeah, the FDA.
The FDA, and vice versa, by the way.
Yeah.
So they rotate between government and industry in that very, what do I want to say?
Incestuous pool.
Right, incestuous relationship. And the American people are left holding the bag. It sucks, man. It sucks.
But maybe it'll change. I think people are getting pissed off now. I really do.
I think more people see what's going on. Yeah, I would agree with you.
If nothing else, what Trump did do, he was the spoiler. What Trump did to Halliburton, thank you very much. Yeah. So we have two people, Thomas Whittingham and Horned Frog, Halliburton, right. So Halliburton is our IG Farben. What Trump did do, love him or not, is he put on the big flashlight and all the cockroaches came running out.
Yeah, he you know, I don't know if he was the first to use the term the swamp to describe Washington, D.C. and surrounding entities and all of the incestuous relationships there. But boy, he put a big old spotlight on a lot of it. And I think a lot of Americans, even people that didn't vote for him, don't like him, never Trumpers, even they had to acknowledge, man, he was right about that.
Yeah, he's right about all of it. He's right about George Soros. George Soros funding these prosecutors in cities that let guys, some kid shot a cop and he's already out he's already out. They for some reason they didn't prosecute him. We don't need new gun laws. We just need the fucking judges to follow the gun laws that are in place now and hold people accountable.
This is the new thing. If you don't like a law or a court ruling, you just ignore it. And nobody will ever hold you accountable because you won't be arrested, or if you are, you'll be out the next day. You know, this is literally, I mean, these are the pillars of democracy and our society. And so what happens when the pillars go?
Sean Watson says, check out Project Veritas. I love them. And the FBI corruption. Yeah, Hillary Clinton, as Trump said, Trump has been right about everything. I don't care who you are. He predicted they were wiretapping me. They were. The FBI was in on it. They were. Hillary bought and paid for it. She did. Now it's all coming out. Durham is, thanks to this Sussman guy, everybody's rolling over on Hillary now.
And did you see ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, all of them never talk, not one story, nothing. It's like it never happened.
Because
if the shoe was on the other foot.
They're horrible too. The media is part of this whole conspiracy. It is.
If the shoe was on they're part of the swamp.
Oh, definitely.
You know, it's very simple. They are.
But they're conspiring to rob this country from the people it truly belongs to, and that is the people, the citizenry. These politicians all need to go. They all need to go, every one of them. All right, look, that's it. We could go on and belabor this, but we're not going to. Thanks for doing the heavy lifting, Rob. Thanks to all of you who are here live and contributing a lot to the show. Thank you for that. And we'll see you tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio. Don't forget, share the show. Share the show. Hold on. I hate doing this. I hate ending a show when there's a comment. I would hate to think where my wealth would be if I didn't find your show 6 years ago. Wow, thank you. I stopped believing the doctors where my health would be, not wealth, I'm sorry. I stopped believing the doctors, did my own research, love your content and commitment to delivering a great show. And this is why I'll never be as popular as Dave Asprey. No, I'm serious.
Yeah, I know it.
Because I don't care about selling you anything. I mean, we have sponsors, and I love when people patronize the sponsors because they keep the show going. But I'm not making anything. I'm not selling bulletproof coffee and a bunch of other bullshit. Yeah. And every day, it changes what he's behind. Today it's this, tomorrow it's that. No.
That's worth more than any amount of money. What he just said.
And I will go off the air in 2024 once the Gun Leash launches, and I will not feel bad about going off the air because I stuck to my guns for 16, 17, 18 years. Yeah, look at this. Dave wouldn't stoop to talking to his listeners. I didn't even think about that. That's really a good one. I didn't think about that. Oh, let's see here. Boydster says, have a great day. You too. Thank you for being here today. Thomas Whittingham says, have a great day. Rodney. Who's Rodney, me? I don't know. Oh, yeah, Rodney Dangerfield. I don't get no respect. You're right. I forgot about that. I'm the Rodney Dangerfield of fitness podcasting. Thanks to everybody that was here, and we'll see you tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio. Take care.